Hey, what's up, baby girl? Welcome back. I want to talk about the different levels of introspection and how too much thinking can turn you gay. At some point in my life, I was journaling every single day. I was analyzing and kind of calculatively and meticulously planning and strategizing how I should express myself, how I should carry myself so that I could appear more confident, appear more charismatic, improve my social skills for maybe 3 whole years. I was just focused on that, focus on my social skills. And I basically looked the same, honestly, even though I was trying to keep fit. But I was fat at the time and I wanted to improve myself. I wanted to self improve, so I was journaling and meditating, and that was my whole identity. Like somebody who is conscientious, taking control of his own life. I'm going to read all these books. I'm going to become well spoken, super smart, super emotionally intelligent, super emotionally mature, super socially skillful, socially competent. So I would go to school, have interactions with people, start conversations, speak to strangers, and even like conversations with my own friends. I would always evaluate and analyze how I could do it better. How did I want to express myself if I could do it again? Or maybe I was embarrassed, or maybe I had to give a presentation, or maybe I had to do this or that. I would analyze. I would go back, pull out my book, pen and paper. You know, I performed on stage today. Amaze balls. I wish I did this. Next time, maybe I could take a deep breath before I do this. Next time, maybe I could say this instead. Every single thing. And at that time, I firmly believed that this was amazing. I'm taking a lot of, I'm taking my life very seriously. I'm trying to be better, and I'm evaluating every day. Imagine how much a person could improve if they evaluated themselves, reassessed themselves, and then enacted those changes the next day. How good my social skills would be in a couple years. Beautiful. I would be amazing pushing myself to this level of discomfort. And at that time, perhaps it was absolutely, maybe it helped me a lot, because I actually went from somebody with like maybe one or two friends, or maybe not at all. In school, I was incredibly lonely. I didn't speak to anybody. I would rush out of school, run out of there alone. I'll run to the bus stop, the MRT station, the train station, for those who don't know what MRT is. And I'll get out of there as soon as possible. But I wanted friends. I wanted to be confident. I wanted to be sociable. I wanted to walk in a room and be charismatic and people know me and respect me. And it worked. Because I reevaluated, because I faced discomfort, it worked. But at some point, this thinking became so ridiculous. I would become so addicted to rumination. I would play sad music. I'll play these violin, orchestral, instrumental, beautiful, sentimental music, and I'll just sit there and stare into space and ruminate and think about, how empty life is, how grateful I am for certain things. It's a very spiritual kind of feeling. It feels amazing. But at some point, I think I'm beginning to realize that this is an addiction. This is a vice. And of course, vices are not all terrible, honestly, because we're human. We need vices. And vices kind of add to who we are. But this became kind of a harness that I just relied on, because it gave me some fantasy to hang on to that made my life feel more significant. So instead of taking action, I was there thinking. I was ruminating. I was feeling like, my existence is like this. I was thinking about the world from so many different perspectives, thinking about myself from so many different perspectives. And that can be quite destructive. That can make you quite retarded. That can make you take less action and do more thinking instead. What I thought freed me from social anxiety actually gave me way more anxiety as time went on. At the start, it was actually going well because things were getting better. Things were actually improving. But at some point, when you think too much about being social, when you think too much about trying to behave charismatically, you become the opposite of that. Um, you become somebody who is pretentious, who is performative, who designs the way they appear. And that's gay. That's very gay. And people can read through that. You know, you're sitting in the middle of friends and you suddenly start to dissociate because you start to observe yourself in a third person's perspective and then try to calculate your next move so that they could respond to you better, so that they could like you more. Am I doing the right thing right now? You start to reevaluate in that spot. So this habit of journaling, of reevaluation, of monitoring yourself, at some point it becomes gay. And maybe at the start some people need it, honestly. Maybe some people need it. Because when you're thinking too much, it almost feels like you need to think through it instead of just doing. You know, you don't have that safety net to be like, all right, maybe if I just do, I'll be fine. Because you don't have that confidence, right? Your whole life you've experienced not amazing feedback from other people. So how do you know that if you just act based on your instincts, you would win, you would get what you want out of life? You don't know that. But it is important that we experiment. It's very important that we experiment. It's very important that we become retarded. We take more action than we think. And we stop ruminating and fantasizing about sad little things that make our lives feel more significant. Like imagining the whole scope of things, you know, fantasizing about the potential relationship we could have with this wonderful girl, fantasizing about heartbreak for some reason, and then listening to sad heartbreak songs as you go to the gym and drive your resentment into your bicep curls. While those are amazing feelings, those are destructive things, because if your ambition is run by fear, it becomes very short-lived. It becomes very confusing because that resentment is going to fade eventually. And then what happens to that energy? When that fear fades, do you just stop? And then suddenly the things you do loses its magic because you're no longer resentful. Then you start to find other things to be resentful about. And your life becomes a cycle of resentment and bitterness and driving that into bicep curls over and over. And you paint this as ambition, as something grand, something beyond yourself, something, I don't know. But it gets very destructive. And it gets very stupid. It becomes very gay. You know, you have all these cock fantasies of somebody who goes to the gym. That's pretty funny. But yeah, as important introspection as, you know, being somewhat self-aware, as important as that is, at some point, you just gotta wing it. You just gotta put yourself out there without thinking so that you can learn that your instincts can do the thinking for you. So that you can understand that you can trust your judgment when it comes down to it. You know, having that confidence in yourself doesn't come from re-evaluating every single time, because that kind of reminds yourself that, oh, if I have to calculate and rethink everything, I'm probably not very good, right? But when you rely on your instincts, your judgment, when you just let yourself act and behave and experiment, and then you find that you still receive positive feedback, or even better positive feedback, without overthinking, without considering all the different options you could have taken, but just trusting your instincts, I think you learn faster that way. And not only that, you feel more confident that way because you're able to now carry yourself without thinking about it. You're able to get positive feedback without thinking about it. You're able to achieve these things. You're able to attract these goals, get respect from these guys, build wonderful events and story in your life. Maybe start making money, maybe start making progress in a hobby or a goal without thinking about it, without structuring, without planning, without organizing, without all of the above. You just like what you're doing. It fulfills you. High to most, baby. You feel high in spirit. You feel amazing. You're doing the productive things without being obsessed with being productive, without being afraid of wasting time. You're not fueled by fear anymore, but by pure spirit and soul and willingness to do things. there's a big difference in that, I feel. And I've only started to trust my instincts more as I've gotten so many events in my life to the point where I literally don't have time to journal. I mean, I honestly do, but I just got too lazy. And in a strange way, I'm happier in my relationships. I'm more fulfilled. I don't get obsessed over heartbreak as often. I don't ruminate as often. My relationships are better. I don't feel the need to fucking explain myself over everything. I feel amazing. I mean, I could definitely feel better if, certain things happen, but I feel amazing. And my relationships feel amazing. And I feel like I can trust myself, and I don't have to be so fucking scared of time passing, because I can just experiment. I can just fool around. Life is about being retarded. At some point, introspection is gay. I know I've said that a few times already. But when we are so obsessed with monitoring ourselves, life is, we look into a mirror way too many times. Guys, that's gay. The cavemen don't barely look at themselves, right? I think there's something inherently wrong with so much self-monitoring, so much third-person gameplay. We have too many mirrors in our life. We need to stop monitoring ourselves. We need to let it rip. And of course, being better looking will give you more positive feedback. Of course. But we should not be monitoring ourselves this much. We should take a bit of a chill pill. We should calm down a little bit, let it rip. If you want to fart in front of your friends, let it rip. Nobody gives a shit. You gotta be retarded. And, as much as thinking is very, very, as much as being self-aware is important, I think at some point you gotta let it rip. And it's very freeing. And again, it's where the most grounded amount of confidence comes from. Like, in the past, when I walk with my friends, or when I'm with my friends, or when I walk into a room, I would be mewing, I would be lowering my voice, I would be very careful with what I say. Whenever somebody asks me for something, I take a long pause and I think hard and deep, and I deliver the most fucking exquisite, well-composed passage ever. Beautiful, sexy ass guy. But it was gay. You think people want to get to know somebody who's so polished and well-crafted? Do you think they really do? Or do you think they just want to network with you because you seem like somebody who, can bring them some sort of benefit, just out of pure value? Being so well-polished and well-put together doesn't bring you much, really. It really doesn't bring you much. And honestly, whenever I go to networking events, it just feels gay as fuck. It's so stupid. Like, I don't even respect these people. Look at the way they talk. They're not even funny, dude. They're not on my equal wavelength. They're not as autistic as me. They're like, hey, how are you doing, mate? In my marketing department, I have, we want to make these sales, and we, man, gay. So gay. Inbound, outbound leads. My Little Pony. You gotta close the client. You gotta cold call them. Outreach. Gay. I don't want. What kind of language is that? It's so gay. It's so boring. It's really, really boring. And being retarded, right? Just letting yourself let it rip. Being willing to just fucking scream shit. Being willing to say what's on your mind. Being willing to relax and let yourself be free. Say whatever the fuck you want. Act out whatever the fuck you want. Of course, to an extent. But, being autistic with it brings you the people that you actually care about. Brings you people who are on your wavelength. Brings you people that you actually enjoy spending time with, instead of always overthinking when you're with them. And always evaluating yourself, and always thinking you have to bring something to the table unless you're going to lose their love. When you become a retard, when you stop obsessing over how you look, when you stop self-monitoring, the relationships you make become so much better. And the amount of fun you have in life becomes so much better. I think we lose the We lose the importance of fun. We think that productive. Everything else is a waste of time. We need to delay our enjoyment. I think as much as delayed gratification is amazing, I think in some level that high energy, that high spirit doesn't come without being less calculated, without obsessing over structure and productivity. We can't really be. I don't know how people, talk about being disciplined and productive, and then they genuinely, you know, kind of chain themselves to this obsession over productivity and getting the work done and making the money. And maybe it works for some people. Maybe some people actually become successful from that. But there's a kind of loss of the soul, of the spirit when you obsess over discipline and productivity. It's like, who do you become? When you are fueled by fear and you think that is ambition, when you become somebody fueled by inferiority, when you become somebody who is fueled by a need to be better than others, to prove to yourself that you deserve the love, what kind of relationships do you make? How much soul do you carry? And do you really make more progress than the people who are retarded and the people who just take action without having to structure, without having to organize and plan and obsess over being productive and find more tricks to be more productive? Will you really make more progress than them? And I know we see all these successful people, all these podcasts discussing about different health hacks and productivity hacks. Well, for me personally, I can say for sure that when I was obsessed over all this productivity shit, I was spending more time consuming and learning how to be productive than actually being productive. And not only that, my spirit was down, my energy was low. My relationships were shit. I had no soul, no spirit. I was just running on pure discipline, gym 6 times a week, record these amounts of videos in this day, edit these amounts of videos in this day. Discipline, study, work, gym, eat healthy. Zero spirit or discipline. I had no friends. Well, I was actually, I guess because I was evaluating and putting myself out there, I was actually being more social, getting to know more people, but not getting to know them well. I guess I had more respect from other people, but it wasn't chemistry, it wasn't bond. It was just, yo, you're Jack, man, awesome. Oh, I love that you're working on the social media stuff. Oh, you want to collab? Gay. But as opposed to when I just relax, when I just focus on what I want to do, what I find fun, what fulfills my spirit, I feel like I actually get more and better work done. And not only that, my relationships feel amazing. And not only that, I feel amazing. And I feel free. And I feel powerful. And I think with that spirit and energy that comes with being retarded, that comes with focusing on taking action and what actually fulfills you and pleases you, and what you know you need to do at every moment without having to structure or plan it, you become somebody who is so much more fulfilled. Like for a long time I would abstain from drinking, from playing video games, from eating junk food. Zero. Absolutely zero. And I would tell other people, I'll convince other people, not to consume all these things and tell them how poisonous it is. And I remember a period of time I was fucking spreading red pill propaganda like I'm a left-wing activist. It was crazy. I'm gay. I was being gay. I was trying to red pill my aunties. Gay. Giving advice to people and thinking that your advice is what they lack and you have that power to give them direction is playing God. It's 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 assumptions. It's kind of dumb, and it's also, does it really help them, or does it just serve you? Giving advice. Does it just make you feel smarter and more knowledgeable, or are you actually helping the other person? Advice is something that stands on a very wishy-washy line. Like, my dad likes to give me advice and then say, and if I don't follow it, he just kind of condescendingly refers to me like I'm stupid. And I think that's ridiculous. We're from different times, the different things are valuable in our different eras. All of the above. Advice is something so weird because everybody has different kind of value systems, right? Everybody wants different things. Everybody values different things. Everybody gets things in a different way. Everybody's fulfilled by different things. So when you give someone advice and you look at them condescendingly when they don't follow your advice, thinking that they are stupid, I think you are kind of the stupid one, honestly. Who are you to assume that somebody can't think for themselves? Of course, if somebody asks for suggestions and you have some, amazing. But if you're forcing advice down someone's throat and basically seeing them as stupid for not following your advice and for not thinking that what you say is the fucking gospel, then there's something wrong with you, and you're not a very I don't know, you're not a very perspective kind of person. Where was I even going with this? Yeah, I want to circle back to, we really got to stop. We really got to think less and do more. We really got to stop considering all our relationships from a third person's perspective, reevaluating ourselves. I know it's important that we see ourselves to be responsible for the situations we're in. Absolutely important, for sure. But at some point, this reevaluation becomes extremely destructive, extremely counterproductive. Not amazing. And it is important that we learn to trust our own decisions by just doing, and finding out what happens afterwards. And sometimes, obsessing over discipline can turn out bad for you. And sometimes you just gotta fucking eat that marshmallow. The other day I bought a pack of marshmallows, even though I'm cutting. I've been abstaining from junk food for a very, very long time, and I'm like, dude, I want to have some marshmallows. I'm gonna have some fucking marshmallows. And fuck it, my spirits were high. I felt fucking amazing. My friend offered me a donut and I had it. Fucking amazing. High tumors, baby. And I have so much energy that I cycle around every day for a few hours, so I'm still losing weight. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. But of course, some people won't have that much time to do all that. But what I'm trying to say is, you gotta play, you gotta fuck around and find out. You gotta fool around. You gotta dabble, you gotta dip your toes in some water. You can't just sit there and think about how the water feels without dipping your toes in it, you know what I'm saying? Gotta just dip it. And sometimes when you're standing in front of the pool, you don't have your journal with you to analyze the water. So you just gotta go in. Fuck around and find out. You can take it. You can take it. You got a huge pair of balls. You got big arms. Fuck it, be ball. Fuck it, be ball. Yeah, think less, do more. At some point, introspection becomes gay. So if you find yourself thinking too much, just do. Just do. That's the answer to everything. What's the worst that can happen? Literally nothing. What's the worst that could happen? I can't think of it. Can't even imagine it. You can say the most bizarre shit, and you don't even need to explain yourself. You know, the world's a crazy place now. You can get successful doing absolute fuck all. There's this fucking black giant guy on Instagram who just dances after eating food, and he gets a shit ton of sponsorships, and he's doing extremely well. He just eats the food and starts fucking, I don't know, man. He starts wobbling around, and he gets millions of views. So in a world where anything could fucking happen, go ham. Go ham. The other day, in the span of 10 minutes, I witnessed a suicide. Somebody jumped off a building. The police had the place cordoned off. I had one short buff guy come over and threaten my friend. He kind of shouted at me first, and I put out my hand. I'm like, baby girl, relax. Daddy's here. Behave yourself. And then he circled around to my friend and threatened my friend instead. Because, okay, honestly, my friend's instigating a little bit, but besides the point. And at the same time, in the same 10 minutes, I saw a old lady in a wheelchair spinning in circles, singing while waving at people. The world is retarded, and you gotta be retarded too. You get too much in your own head, you get too serious about things, you monitor yourself so much, and you lose yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore, because when you monitor yourself, you are actually kind of evaluating yourself with other people's standards, not even your own. And when you do that, you just become gay. And we can't become gay. In a retarded world, in a world full of retards, we gotta be a retard too. And we gotta navigate this world like a retard. If we are too serious about things, nothing gets done. And not only that, you don't even feel like you're alive. You lose your spirit. You lose that gusto that lasts for life, that energy, that thumos. So you gotta just act. You gotta just act. You gotta just experiment. If you're cutting, you gotta have a marshmallow for no fucking reason, because you want to. But at the same time, with that freedom, with that high energy, you're gonna find that if you genuinely wanted to, you will stick to the cut. Or whatever it is that you're doing. Like if you genuinely wanted it, you wouldn't need to plan out fucking 10 minutes a day of playing piano. My piano's right here, by the way, if you can't see it. You don't need to plan that out, because you would just do it if it genuinely fulfills you. And I find that when we stop obsessing over productivity and just focus on thinking about what we really want to do, even while doom scrolling, we think about what we really want to do, and we'll find that it is not doom scrolling. It is hanging out with friends. We want to see this person right now. We want to text her right now. We want to call her right now. We want to hang out with our boys. We want to eat some marshmallows. We want to cycle a few hours in the rain for no fucking reason. We want to record a video, talk to ourselves with a camera and a light pointing at me for no fucking reason. Do what fulfills you. Play that piano for no reason. You don't even need to learn a song. Just slap a few keys. Watch a TV show if you want to. And if you feel like, too much time is passing, you're wasting time, then you're absolutely right. Trust your instincts. Get up and go do something else. Go do something else. Whatever's waiting for you. I don't think we need to obsess over productivity. I think we need that high spirit and that high energy to approach life. I think we do that by allowing ourselves to be free. By really focusing on what we want. And letting ourselves explore. Because a lot of the times we doom scroll because we are too afraid to explore. A lot of the times we play video games because we are too afraid to experiment, to put ourselves out there, to take action. But if we just focus on that, if we just allow ourselves to take action and understand that that is the gospel, that is the most important thing, taking action. I think that we'll feel so much more fulfilled. I think that we'll feel amazing. Even if that action is fucking walking to the fridge and eating chocolate. Okay, for some people maybe you gotta stop doing that. But for people like us who've been so obsessed with discipline and productivity, sometimes that is what we need to do. We gotta fulfill the spirit. We gotta take a shot. We gotta smoke a cigarette if we have to. Gotta fucking send it. Obsession over how we appear is gay. Is super gay. And super lackluster. So, you got this. Think less, do more. I'll see you. I love you. Cepeto. Also, let me know what you think about these kinds of unedited videos. I know there could be long pauses, but I really like the conversation, you know. I really like just raw conversation. And it's amazing. My throat is dry. Feels good. Feels like I'm practicing speaking. Yeah. Alright. I love you. See you in the next one.